Now let's start from the beginning, from growth hormone releasing hormone. It basically binds to a G protein coupled receptor. So it's a similar mechanism acting through the cyclic AMP pathway. So what will happen? Why are PHP short? Pseudohypoparathyroidism individuals, why are they short?
PTH related peptide is not.
PTH related peptide will not. Pseudohypoparathyroidism. GNAS1. So this is cyclic AMP here. So GHRH will be inactive. So that is causing one of the reasons for them being short. And McCune-Albright being tall. So again, your GHRH goes up. So this is the scenario. So GHRH theoretically will be a very good drug to treat. You say, okay, most are hypothalamic. I'll give GHRH. Why would not that respond? So it is not found to be effective because many patients pituitary problem is there. So even if you have GHRH, pituitary will not produce it. So the main role GHRH was being used was for testing. But now nobody does that testing. So it is an obsolete thing. Therapeutic effect people have tried, but GH is the easiest one to go forward. Again, GHRH will have very small concentrations. And that GHRH has to go to the pituitary. If you give in the blood, how will it go to the pituitary? So there's so many complications, so people don't use it. It was tried earlier in that regards. Now, what controls growth hormone? So when should you produce growth hormone? When you are hungry or when you are fed? Ria.
The proper nutritional statement, but when we are hungry, the growth hormone will be released.
That's a very interesting scenario. So why are you producing growth hormone? So ghrelin, I'm just giving you the start from there. Ghrelin is a peptide which is produced via the stomach when your stomach is empty. So when you're not eating anything, ghrelin is produced and its name itself is ghrelin. So it's a growth hormone releasing hormone. It goes and directly acts on the anterior pituitary through its secretagogue receptor to produce growth hormone and ACTH. So logically, you will say when you are full, you should produce growth hormone. But why is hunger causing growth hormone? Because what is the other role of growth hormone? Growth hormone is a counter-regulatory hormone. ACTH, cortisol is a counter-regulatory hormone. So ghrelin is an important mediator of hunger to counter-regulatory hormone. It is logical. When you are hungry, you want more glucose. Growth hormone may not give you that much glucose, but at least it will give you fatty acids, which you can burn to ketones. So it is good in lipolysis process. So this is not going to cause growth. This is going to burn your fat. This is what you can consider. Now, ghrelin will go in the hypothalamus to say, okay, I'm hungry. So they will start eating. In that perspective, the orexogenic pathway will be stimulated and it will go to your muscles and the resting energy expenditure will become less. So this is what you will expect, something which is being produced in response to hunger, more counter-regulatory hormone, more appetite and less expenditure. So this is the way ghrelin works out from that perspective. So ghrelin was considered to be one of the agents which may be used for treatment of short stature, but it has not been found to be effective. However, something similar to ghrelin is being used in endocrinology, in this whole process only, in GHD as well. So what can you use it for? So one is treatment, but if you don't have any growth hormone, how will you produce it? So you can use it testing. So methimorelin is a novel form of ghrelin which is being used for stimulation testing. The advantages all other are not physiological. You're giving clonidine, you're giving glucagon, you're giving insulin. This is acting only on the growth hormone secretagogue receptor. So it is a very good test in adults for diagnosing GHD. So that becomes important. Now, growth hormone regulation we talked about. You talked about two arms. One is which is stimulating it, which is growth hormone releasing hormone acting via the G protein coupled receptor. And the other one is the inhibitory one, which is the somatostatin, which is SSTR. Now, somatostatin is non-specific. Somatostatin is going to inhibit everything. TSH, ACTH. So if you talk about Cushing syndrome, central Cushing syndrome, somatostatin is used. Insulin producing tumor, somatostatin is used. So it's a non-specific one, but it is also an inhibitor. But its name is actually coming from, where is the name coming from? Growth hormone inhibitory substance. So somatostatin. So it's basically against the growth hormone. So there's how it was discovered. But now we use it for many other scenarios. Now, growth hormone is basically a large peptide. So will you be producing it or producing it and storing it, or you will produce it only when needed? So suppose you need it, how much time will it take to grow to produce a 198 amino acid? So all of these peptides are stored, and then their control is largely at release. If you talk about insulin, if you talk about PTH, they're all controlled at release. So growth hormone largely is regulated at the level of release. Of course, if you don't need it all for months, body will stop producing it. So that becomes important, and the major stimulator of secretion. So that's why you're talking about secretagogue. You're not talking about increased synthesis. So insulin, we also talk about secretagogue. We don't talk about something which is going to increase the production. So ghrelin is going to, of course, cause release of growth hormone, and somatostatin is going to have an opposite effect. So somatostatin is going to stop the release, not the production. The production is mainly GHRH. So as you said, it is not immediate. If your nutrition is good, it's just that you have eaten something and immediately growth hormone should come. No, it should not come. It should come when you have a sustained amount, then GHRH will come, GHRH will produce, and somatostatin will come down, and growth hormone will be released from that perspective. So ghrelin plays an important role. Thyroxine is of course important. So if you have hypothyroidism, you will have, what will happen to the GH-IGF axis? Which one will be low? Everything will be low. So GH will be low, IGF will be low, IGF-BP. So it affects the entire axis. And same is cortisol excess. Cortisol excess is also going to cause everything. Major impact will be at growth hormone action as well as growth hormone production, but mainly at IGF-1 level from that perspective. Now, testosterone is going to act via estrogen to cause growth hormone release. And this is what you're talking about, puberty, and how puberty causes increase in growth hormone level. So remember, it is estrogen both in boys as well as in girls. So in boys, it is coming via aromatase, and in girls, it is directly estrogen. So when you talk about priming, how do you do a priming? Which single agent can be used in both genders? So if you look at many of these protocols, they say you use estradiol also. But of course, it may cause more side effects and you're giving a high dose, so we don't usually use, but estrogen theoretically can be used in both boys and girls. How would you know that it is estrogen and not DHT, which is causing the growth hormone release? So how did we come to that? Or how was this diagnosed that the estrogen is causing this release of growth hormone?
DHT is not there in girls.
No, in boys. I'm talking about boys. Of course, girls, everybody said it is estrogen in girls and testo in boys. But we know testo is a pro-hormone. Testo can be converted to DHT or estrogen. So in boys, the other option could be DHT. So is DHT the major hormone or estrogen the major hormone? So how do you know that? If you use a aromatase inhibitor, what is going to happen?
The aromatase and the estrogen will not be produced. So
GH will be produced less. So if you are treating somebody with aromatase inhibitor with the aim of increasing the duration of growth by decreasing epiphyseal fusion, you are also theoretically decreasing their growth hormone level. Now, it may be offset because that you are also increasing their testosterone level. That is a different ballgame altogether. So when you are using alone aromatase inhibitor, it is not a good idea. If you are combining it with growth hormone, it may be a better idea. Or if you are combining it with something like a testosterone, it may be a better idea. Or somebody has CAH, already there a lot of things are going high, then you are using it as a better idea. So that is an important thing to remember. Now, cortisol has an inhibitory effect, and we'll talk about that as well. Now, IGF-1, of course, will inhibit growth hormone because it's a feedback mechanism acting via the type 1 IGF receptor. It is going to decrease that growth hormone level in that regards. Now, there are various physiological stimuli. So we already have discussed at least one of them. So which one is that? Which stimulates growth hormone? Hunger. So that is why we talk about these hunger tests. What else stimulates growth hormone? Sleep and exercise. So these are the three major ones. So people used to do exercise tests. You go up and go down and see how much growth hormone goes up. Of course, nobody will agree with that now, but that is something which was being used and hunger becomes important. So sleep, stress, exercise, all of them will increase your growth hormone level. And one of the more potent one, of course, is hypoglycemia. As I said, it is a counter-regulatory hormone. So when you have hypoglycemia, you will have more growth hormone, more cortisol, more epinephrine, more norepinephrine. Everything is going to happen. Now, this is the major point, and this we all talk about that growth hormone is a pulsatile hormone. But why is it a pulsatile hormone? So basically, we say that there is a two check mechanism. Somatostatin is inhibiting release, and GHRH is producing increasing production. So in scenario where your somatostatin goes down and your GHRH is already high, you will have a release of growth hormone. So that will be the scenario. Then after some time, somatostatin will go up. It will say, okay, the level will come down. So what it is meaning is that you cannot have continuous growth hormone production. Why are you worried about continuous growth hormone exposure? Yes, so there is a theoretical risk. And how do you say that growth hormone is having a malignancy potential?
States like growth hormone excess like acromegaly, they have a much more predilection for the colonic carcinoma and other
Colonic adenomas, not carcinoma. So the evidence is very limited. So most people say that growth hormone may cause that, but this is based upon theoretical largely, that IGF-1 will be more IGF-1 will cause more cellular growth, and only colonic adenomas have been found. So carcinoma you cannot specify on that. So why do you think having more growth hormone is not going to cause cancer? So many people use
is from G1, IGF-1 level.
Yes. So in growth hormone treatment, what is happening?
Will be also increasing the IGF-BP level, so that will be the free IGF level will be not.
That is very important. If you give only IGF, you are just increasing the free IGF. While if you are giving growth hormone, you are increasing IGF as well as IGF-BP. So the free IGF will not go sky high. So that is why the risk of malignancy is extremely low with the use of growth hormone as compared to IGF-1, where the risk will be very high. So as I said, pulsatility is largely because of somatostatin decrease, and as somatostatin level will increase, again you will have a pulsatility which will happen. And remember, there are only 10 to 12 pulses which are going to happen in the whole 24 hours. So if you do growth hormone at any in-between time, it is a waste of money. So that's why we say no role of basal growth hormone. The only role of basal growth hormone is in growth hormone insensitivity. Height is -5 SDS, there is frontal bossing, there is sparseness of hair, and you say, I do a growth hormone, it is 10. There's nothing to be there. Anything above 5, it will go in favor of a growth hormone insensitivity. So that is the only scenario we'll use that. Now, when does this happen? And that's why sleep becomes important. So when would body produce growth hormone? One, when it is hungry. Second, when it is comfortable. So when you're deep sleep, stage 3 and 4, that is when the body says, okay, this child is now okay. If she is able to sleep, let's produce growth hormone. And this happens only 10 to 12 times a day. And boys have a higher pulsatility. This is an important thing to remember. Boys have more pulsatility. Girls have a higher basal level. So ultimately, the effect, the area under the curve may be the same, but the pulsatility is more with boys, to remember. Now, very importantly, obesity is important because it is going to reduce the pulses. So obesity is basically what? It is a GHD like condition. But growth is increased in obesity. Why?
Because of insulin
Yeah.
resistance, it will feedback inhibition, it will decrease growth, but hyperinsulinism.
Okay, so you said one thing is clear, the growth hormone level is low, but insulin is more. More insulin is going to inhibit IGF-BP. Less IGF-BP, more IGF-1, more free IGF-1. So growth will be more. So obesity is a growth hormone sensitive state, which means that in obese children, you may falsely diagnose them as GHD. In adults, there are different cutoffs which have been recommended, that you have lower cutoffs for diagnosing GHD in obese adults. There are a couple of studies which we discussed also in big detail, which said that if you are using, you can have some correction factors in an obese child as per BMI, but there is no standard guidelines in children yet. But if you have an obese child, be cautious. If the GH is like 5, 6, it may be normal also from that regard. Now, fasting, on the other hand, is going to act in an opposite direction. It is going to increase pulses. So what is going to happen with fasting? We talked about that already, that growth hormone will be more, but IGF-1 will be In malnourished, fasting, low energy, what will happen to IGF-1? Yes, so it is a growth hormone resistant state. Obesity is a growth hormone sensitive state. Malnutrition is a growth hormone resistant state, which basically means that you may miss growth hormone deficiency if you do stimulation test. You may overdiagnose growth hormone deficiency if you do IGF-1. So very clear message: do not do IGF-1 in malnourished, and growth hormone stimulation you need to be a bit cautious.